Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Living in Tacoma. Phil Walsh here with Skyline Properties. I'm a local real estate broker, and alongside me here,
Addy Nut, your local lender and the money guy.
So listen guys, pros and cons of living in Puyallup. We're gonna dive right in, so get your attention span fixed on us, okay? So pro number one, we're only 15 to 20 minutes southeast of Tacoma, okay? We're about 45 minutes to an hour south of Seattle. We have, and if you've watched some of our videos, and there'll be a load of pics and videos uploaded, a very small town feel.
Love it.
We call it like a village feel in the UK. You can tell from the accent. So with a small town feel that we have in Puyallup, you can walk around Puyallup downtown center. You can meander around as well as you want. And because of that small town feel, you also get a lot more bang for your buck.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the houses are concerned and the footprint of the properties, okay? You're not condensed in like further north in Seattle. You're not as condensed as Tacoma. So your footprint of your lot size and your house per square footage, you feel like you're getting a lot more bang for your buck.
Yep.
Type deal.
I love that you said that too, because we get so many people from all over the world, and they are describing this as what they want.
Right.
Hey, I want to be close to everything, but I don't want to be in the middle of it. Right? So exactly, I love that.
So the small town feel of Puyallup is awesome. It's really, really good. So for me, that is one of the very first pros there is. Close enough to Tacoma if you work, JBLM if you work, Olympia, and that trek north up to Seattle if you're part of the Silicon or, you know, the tech entrepreneurs, Microsoft,
all those
Starbucks,
geniuses.
all those geniuses up there. Not on this video, okay? Which leads us straight into pro number two.
I love that. What's number two?
Pro number two, if you're in Puyallup and you don't want that commute up to Seattle, or if you're working in Bellevue up 167, or if you're jumping on I-5 straight up to Seattle, we've got the Seattle Sounder.
So good. So good.
So check out the video. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, we got some good ones.
So the Sounder is the local train that runs all the way up. It's basically the commuter train, okay? So there's obviously park and ride in Puyallup. They've just built a brand new garage right down on the railway tracks, obviously. It's a multi-story level car park. Drop off the car, jump on the commute train, 25 minutes to 30 minutes, sit back, pop in the, get on the iPad, pop in the buds, and you're good to go. Right into King Street in Seattle.
Well, and Phil knows I have zero tolerance for traffic. So for me to go grab that coffee, I can get caught up on emails. Maybe I'm catching an episode on Netflix.
There you go.
And then I'm where I need to be.
No, that's exactly what the scoop is, all right? So for commuters, that Seattle Sounder for me is a huge plus.
Huge.
From the UK originally, where the train network is all over the place. And here it's not so much. So to have that in that downtown small feel of Puyallup, I think is a bonus. Yeah. Now, the other bonus of this Sounder that we'll mention if you're a sports fan, okay? So it's just not for the commuting. So what Seattle has is obviously, we have the Seahawks and the NFL. We have the Sounders. You guys call it soccer in the MLS. It's called football, guys. Come on, it's footy around the world. Then we have the Kraken, who are doing extremely well this year in the ice hockey league. And then obviously we have the Mariners, the Seattle Mariners. So the bonus is, and they always run, obviously, if there's a game going on, obviously to get up there and then come back at 10 p.m. hopefully. So you want a couple of beers on game day.
You don't gotta worry.
No, you don't have to worry about it. Get dropped off from downtown Puyallup. You jump on a Sounder. Trains are packed. You're going all the way up there.
Which
is kind of cool. And if you don't have that availability of the Sounder there for going to these sports games, somebody's got to drive. Somebody's got to drive you back. All that kind of thing.
Pay for parking.
And parking's a nightmare up in Seattle.
A nightmare.
And on a game day, it's even worse than that. So the Sounder for me is one of those huge bonuses, especially for a small town feel. that is Puyallup. So we're going to move on to pro number 3 because we talked a little bit about Seattle. And just on the basis of that reflections, we're going to talk about the medium home prices in Puyallup, briefly mentioned before. So pro number 3, okay? So the medium home prices in Seattle around about $775,000 north. It's pricey up there in Seattle, okay? It's a lot more condensed. It's a huge hub, Seattle. Everybody's seen the videos. They've seen the pictures. You get that kind of goldfish bowl mentality.
Right.
With people overlooking you. You don't have a decent lot size, a decent footprint from your home. A lot of condos, obviously, no garden space. So, the animal aspect is kind of out the window in some places.
Yeah.
So downtown in Puyallup, our medium home prices are around about $460,000 to about $530,000. Okay? That sounds like a lot. You can get a decent sized home. Don't get me wrong, 400 starting point and moving up, obviously the bigger house and number of bedrooms.
Sure.
So for one of the huge pros, if you're relocating to Puyallup, is number 1, the size of the house, the size of the lot.
Yes.
And it's a way, 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 way cheaper. I mean, so much cheaper than Seattle. So you're getting a bigger house, a bigger footprint, a lot more bang for your buck. Does that make sense?
Just so many different entry point options versus like some cities up in the Seattle metro, you're like, well, it's starting at 900 to even have a conversation. Versus Puyallup, you're seeing, anywhere from 400 up to 600. You have so many different comfort levels to choose from if you're flexible on what you're looking for and your negotiables and non-negotiables. Super nice.
Exactly. And that's what we're here for. We need to find out this goes back to, if you're watching our channel, you're going to be relocating, you're looking to buy, okay? So I know that's a super important factor. We need to know a wish list. Let us know what you want. We'll dial into it, okay? And I mean dialing in by jumping on a Zoom call, video FaceTime, shoot us a text, give us a call, an email, whatever you want, we're good to go, okay? So let me jump into pro number 4. Okay, so pro number 4, like I mentioned, we have that small town feel with a big city amenity value. And what I mean by that is Puyallup, for me, has everything that you want to do. Okay, we've got the South Hill shopping mall up there. There's other couple of videos out there that gives obviously kid-friendly things to do for families and stuff. But with the amount of restaurants, the amount of bars, go-kart tracks. We have I think it's 5 or 6 dog parks, which everybody uses. I mean, to let them off the leash type deal. We're called the Evergreen State for a reason. We have 3 national parks on our doorstep, between 1.5 hours to 2.5 hours away. For me, Puyallup is, if you want to get those kids off the phone, if you want to get them off the couch, if you want to get outdoors,
right? I
mean, you got everything here. You got the Puget Sound for all the water sports and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Very big. So
get out there. Puyallup has everything. You got the shopping, you got the dining, you got the close amenity, you got your great housing prices. It's really, really a great place to live.
You really don't need to leave that city if you're trying, unless it's something special or you're like targeting a destination place. But it really checks all those boxes, and it's just more time for you and your family. You're not, I'm 50 minutes from a Costco and I gotta. It's the whole Saturday to get to Home Depot. It's not like that.
No, not at all. No. And we do have, obviously, we have the Costco's, the Fred Meyers, the Safeways, the Albertsons. All those stores are there on your doorstep. And for me, one of those things about being an outdoors person, getting out there. Obviously, we're now post-pandemic. Everybody was cooped up. Everybody was working from home. Everybody was tearing their hair out. Come on, yada yada yada. Now, coming into the summer of 2023, this is what is getting out there Friday evening, Saturday sunning, planning those excursions with the kids, planning those excursions. If you don't have kids, it's getting out, getting about, kayaking, biking, trails. And I go back to the 3 Olympic parks. Everything is right there on your doorstep. So for me, that's a huge, huge pro of living in Puyallup. Okay?
Could I add one more thing to that?
Go for it, Eddie.
What about the fair? I think that embodies community/big city vibes. Talk about the fair.
So the fair is, I think, don't quote me on this, is the 5th largest fair in America, in the USA. 1.2 million visitors that come every year. The fairgrounds, and if you've watched some of our videos, and there's other videos and pictures we have some great drone shots of it. It's absolutely huge, the fair. And it runs from September the 1st, right? It's basically the whole of September. Okay, when the weather's still decent, not as much rain going on it. And there isn't a lot of rain coming up here, but we'll touch about weather in another minute, because for me, that's a pro. But the Washington State Fairgrounds, for the whole month of September, right downtown Puyallup, there's plenty of parking. It's always busy. It's phenomenal. Yeah. There's all, like every fairground, we also have a great concert. There's a lot of concerts coming on, especially this year. Yeah. And in another video, I'm going to go into more depth about the Washington State Fairgrounds, its attractions, and the local concerts that you might see this year. So definitely the Washington State Fair when it comes to town issues. And it also hosts 3 other fairs. We have obviously Meat Fest. We have Vegetarian Day, Vegetarian Fest, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And then we have the April Fair, I believe, as well. So something's going on all the time. And not to mention that there's always, there's agricultural shows, there's car shows. There's conventions, there's RV conventions, hot tub conventions. There's always something going on down there. So just another thing right on your doorstep that, it's right there for you
just
whenever you want to go
down the hill and you're there.
You're right. You're literally, if you're up in South Hill where I live personally, straight down, it's literally 3 minutes from the house. So it's, it's another huge pro for us, okay? So let me just go into, did I say?
5.
5.
Yep.
So education.
Yep.
Education, if you have kids and you're relocating, is going to be your number one sort of priority, along with sort of the crime statistics, okay? So the Puyallup School District is always in the top 20% of Washington State. Yep. We have some great school districts here in Puyallup, okay? Not only is it going to be great for your kids, but it's also going to be great value for your home, which will obviously going to be increasing in value, okay? And that's a huge, huge reason to pick Puyallup. Tacoma, just to the northeast of us, not so great a school district as Puyallup. So it really is one of the major factors of moving to Puyallup. Like I said, when you have the kids, that's your first concern, your first priority. So with, let me just look at my little notes here. Yep. Yeah.
And just to add to that too, when you have kids, like let's say you have to get, your kids are younger, you might be your first or second home, and you're not going for that forever home, right? This community has a really good opportunity to get in at an affordable, but then an upgradable option where it's like, great, I can keep my kids in the same school district, but I have that wide range of sales prices where I can upgrade in years down the road. So that's a huge thing. Kids, I love that you said that because, the blender in me is always like, it's great for the values, because that's so true. Values are very dependent on school districts.
So depending on where you're relocating from, I'm not going to quote them, but the average class sizes are about 20 to the 1 teacher.
That's really good.
So, the attention to detail, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I think that's a huge factor. So 20 to 1 class sizes, always manageable, and a huge plus for me. Let's go into, I was going to say pro number 6, but we kind of already talked through the Sounders about the sports, but so we mentioned all the sports coming through on obviously the Sounder, which was pro number 2. But let's just talk about pro number 6. Now here's the scoop. If you're into sports, and I said, if you're into the MLS, you're into the NHL, you're into the NFL, you're into the Mariners, the MLB, there's something here for everybody. And there's something here for everybody year round. So there's not just an NFL team, there's not just an MLS, with the seasons changing, the seasons are different. Everybody's like, oh no, the season's ended, what am I going to be doing for the next 6 months? Hang on a minute. Addy, we've got the MLB coming up, we got the Mariners coming in. Or we've got the, the NHL and the Kraken. So for me, if you're a sports enthusiast, and if you're not, one of the other great things for me is if you have family or friends coming to town. For example, my brother came over from across the pond from the UK last year. Now, I'm not an MLB fan, don't get me wrong, but it was the season for baseball, so we went to that. Some of you have this funny chant in the 7th innings where everybody stands up and it's just great to be able to have family and friends coming to town to take them to one of these major sporting attractions. It just fills in a weekend. To have that on your doorstep, the easy access of the Sounder, and to have all of these major sports franchises is a bonus. You know what I mean?
And it brings a ton of stability economically speaking. So if you want to compare it to my hometown's Portland, we have the NBA and then we have the Timbers for MLS, and that's it. That's not very great for job opportunities, corporate events, attracting big, stabilizing companies to relocate to that town. This is a huge section from the entertainment, and it's big for the corporate world. And I'm not a big corporate guy, but that brings a lot of jobs and a lot of money and a lot of revenue. So it's really good for the city and values overall.
No, huge. So again, those sports franchises, guys, as long as you do your chores prior to the weekend, the wife's going to say, get out of here, give me some peace and time. Kind of works both ways for everybody, right? So all of those sports right on your doorstep with easy access for the sauna going up to the top. For me, a huge pro if you're thinking of relocating to Puyallup. So lastly, let me just go into pro number 7, and let me briefly say these are just my honest opinions. These are what Addie and I have spoken about. This is what we think is relevant to obviously mention. There might be others that we've missed. There might be others that you think are, pros for Puyallup. There are a lot more, and we could go on for a half an hour, and you'll be going to sleep and turning it off. So we're going to keep this short. So for me, pro number 7, we have a very low crime rate here in Puyallup, which, along with that education, I think is one of the most important statistics that family look at when choosing their new home when they're relocating, okay? So just to give you an example, let me look at my figures. We're around 10% lower than the state's average, which I think is kind of phenomenal. Do you know what I mean?
It makes a big deal. And another thing with crime, like you can't just go online and take all the stats for heart value. So it takes locals to tell you what the truth is, right? So this is really big testimony of like, hey, I feel safe here. I feel, confident that my car's not getting broken into. Or if there is an area, we're going to steer you away from that. And that's the key part. You could research all you want, right, Phil? Google's a great tool, but nothing replaces human people, boots on ground.
We'll go back to, and just to briefly what Addie said, we do apologize if you own a Kia these days. You know what I mean? Something might be going on there, so don't blame us on that, okay? So there we go. But the crime rate is very, very low. And as Addie mentioned, when you're relocating and you don't have the time to maybe, you can't pop up every weekend. If we get a list of homes that you like, Addie gets your financing in order, we can say, hey guys, we're going to set you up on it. Well, I've got a list. You tick the boxes. Let's set up a weekend. You fly in. Listen, I'll come and pick you up from SeaTac. I've no problem with that. You guys get a hotel, and we can knock out a load of homes. Having somebody local on the ground, if you go onto niche.com again, then you can look at the statistics, et cetera, and we can steer you away from the wrong areas. Right. I wouldn't specifically say if you're relocating to Puyallup, hang on a minute, let's stay. I've got red flags about that area. Maybe not. Maybe Spanaway is one of it's still, a lot of people live there and it's a desirable neighborhood, but it's not up there like Gem Heights, South Hill, downtown Puyallup. But to have somebody on the ground who knows exactly what the scoop is about the crime race and not just seen it on niche.com, right. The statistics in front of you, I think is a huge factor enabling peace of mind and making this hugely important decision of buying a home and relocating. We're here to take the stress out of that factor and just giving you that information, okay?
Well, and it's really great, too, like going to downtown area. There's parks, there's kids out there playing, families enjoying the day, people walking up to the Sounder as a very epicenter for public transportation, and I'm not seeing tense. I didn't get panhandled. I don't feel scared that I have to look over my shoulder every time. You feel super peaceful and community driven. So it kind of spin off to the crime rate. It's nice to have a downtown you can go to and you feel safe and you're not worried.
No, and that's the scoop. And Addie just touched on it. If you could put Puyallup in a nutshell, for me, it's family orientated.
Right.
There's something going on with the amount of parks that are actually in Puyallup.
Sure.
It's kid friendly for everything, and we'll go into a little bit more detail in another video about that. But the parks, the friendly atmosphere, the walking around, the small downtown feel. If you get a babysitter or your kids are old enough to stay at home, you can literally do a bar crawl around Puyallup. All the bars are, they're all in like a 15-minute walk radius, so a proper bar crawl like back in the day. Safest houses, so it's really good to go. But in a nutshell, for me, Puyallup is that it's the family-friendly place that when you're relocating, kids first, the crime, school districts, house price points, availability, etc. It's family friendly in Puyallup, and I love that about it. So let's jump into cons.
Yeah.
Now, we obviously had a chat about this before talking to you guys, and we were going, well, we're trying to find these cons. How many is there? So this is going to be a little bit brief, and I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that other people, might bring up. But again,
maybe generalized.
Yeah, this is personal experience. So one of the things for me, and I'm not talking specifically about downtown Puyallup, but like most cities, most towns, most towns rather than huge cities, some of the traffic sucks. It sucks everywhere you live. We get that, unless you live on a beach in the Caribbean. I did for 12 years, Bermuda, Bahamas, and Grand Cayman. So you see the tear there? Here's the scoop for me. Meridian, which basically goes from downtown Puyallup all the way crossing up and basically going out towards Graham. Meridian traffic sucks day and night. You just can't get away from it. Downtown Puyallup, small town feel, not so bad. But 512 that runs through Puyallup goes up to 167 up north to Bellevue if you're working up there. Or you can jump across to I-5 that takes you up past Tacoma, north, up and then into Seattle. Or if you're going south, you go past JBLM and then Olympia. It doesn't really matter what time of day you are. You just got to be prepared to sit and wait in the traffic sometimes. It really is a nightmare. And just for example, let me give you an example. One of the bonuses for us as a real estate broker, we were able to work during the pandemic, which was a huge plus. People were still relocating. There were obviously certain restrictions in showing homes, 2 per house, et cetera, et cetera. But for example, from Puyallup to Olympia, on a good day, will take you probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes, on a good day. During the pandemic, Puyallup to Olympia was 20 minutes.
Right.
Straight down I-5, or if you're going up to Seattle, straight up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But normally, because 512 cuts through 167 up and the I-5, traffic sucks. The only other thing, like I said, Meridian is the main thoroughfare that runs through Puyallup, up the hill, and then straight up and out to Graham. So traffic sucks at that point. But it does in every town or city where you live, right?
Totally. And I think what's great is, everything's in that town. So it's not necessarily a necessity to go I-5 to Seattle or I-5 to Olympia. No. But when it happens, and it's somewhat unpredictable, especially post-pandemic. I feel like it used to be so predictable where it's like, 9 to 5, there's all these people going to the office, cubicle workers. And now it's like, I work from home 4 days out of the week, or I have half days. Yeah. So it's a little bit harder to judge if you're wanting to go a little further. But
just be aware, most people will tell you that. I mean, throughout Washington State, traffic sucks. Seattle, we're not even going to get into that, right?
Right.
But Olympia, Tacoma, Puyallup, it does suck a wee bit there.
Most people from California just laugh. Like, they're so used to worse traffic, and this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. But being Pacific Northwest, you get used to a certain efficiency.
There you go. So that leads me on to con number 2.
There you go.
And for me, public transport. Now, I'm not talking about the sounder because I rave about the sounder. If you're commuting up to Seattle, you're good to go. The sports, you're good to go. But for me, when I personally relocated to Puyallup 7-8 years ago, for me, the public transport system, although well run, clean and efficient, et cetera, not a lot of crime.
Right.
There's not a lot of it. It seems to be very sporadic with the buses. For example, you can't get the sounder at certain times of the day if you want to pop across to Tacoma.
Yeah.
God forbid if you don't drive and you have to rely on the public transport. For me, it is a downer. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of it. They don't run very often. And these days, a lot of people have their cars. Don't get me wrong, but I'd be remiss to mention that for me, I don't think the availability of the public transport is that great. So that was con number 2.
Not a lot of buses.
Not a lot of buses. So con number 3, okay? So we briefly mentioned it before. Puyallup is awesome. It's family friendly, okay? But we have had a slight increase in the homeless in, I would say, the last 3 to 4 years. And the reason for that being is they built a shelter down, well, not a shelter, but like a soup kitchen type deal in downtown Puyallup. Nothing against this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing anybody. And, bless these people. They've fallen under hardship. And it is what it is. That is life. But because of that, and this is downtown Puyallup, basically along the river, along the Puyallup River down there. It was noticeable, not for the fact that you were getting, panhandles, as Addy mentioned before, not for the fact that, for example, if you go to Seattle, it is diabolical in Seattle. I mean, on most of the street corners, it's
so aggressive too.
That it's aggressive,
Yeah.
and it's very off-putting. Downtown Puyallup doesn't have that, but you have seen that increase in the past 3 to 4 years. Obviously, the council's trying to do something about it and moving forward, and the people of Puyallup, they're very open to it.
Right.
But it has increased a wee bit, as it has in most cities, right?
I don't think it's very noticeable. I think you have to look for it versus other areas in major cities. It just hits you.
It's right there.
But I love you're being really honest. I think it's
Yeah.
fair, and I think it's pretty consistent with almost any decent-sized city nowadays.
And it's true. And I go back to when we say about, the hometown feel. Don't get me wrong. I'm putting this as a con because, well, it is a con.
Right.
But as Addy's, it's not a noticeable in-your-face con. And I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee you, obviously, but you probably won't notice.
Right.
Unless you're going fishing down by the river, you know what I mean, where some of the tents and the camps are.
Right.
There aren't a lot. So, but we have to mention that, okay? So this leads me on to another factor, which is it's either going to be a pro or a con, depending on your lifestyle, who you are, married, kids, etc., etc. And we'll mention this in most of the videos that we do as a con. Is marijuana is legal in Washington State. A lot of states, I think 13 states now, maybe more, it's legalized cannabis. So if it's not your cup of tea, you have to be aware it's legal. And you'll see more and more weed shops opening up. Now, you have to be like a pub. You have to be 21 to actually enter.
Right. Licensed, all that stuff.
Licensed. You have to be a resident of the state. So, for example, if I have a friend coming over the UK and they don't have they can't buy if you don't have a Washington State driver's license, for example. So it's strictly regulated. But for example, let's take the kids somewhere, walking down the river. Ooh, dead skunk? No, it's somebody just smoking a doofer down by the river or whatever it is. So weed is legal. So you have to be aware of that. When you're relocating. And like I said, it's either a pro, it's either a con. Everybody has their views.
Yeah.
Everybody has their opinions. So we're not jumping on any bandwagon, but like I said, we're honest. What you see is what you get. So weed is legal in Washington State. It's not on every street corner, it's not in every park, it's not where the kids are, etc., etc. It's regulated. And whether if it's medicinal for you or if it's recreational for you, it happens up here in Washington State.
It's a good point. We went through that. Those are really fair cons. I love that you handled that with finesse.
There you go.
I think that's very good.
And like I said, these are just our personal opinions.
Sure.
Right? We're just giving you information. If I was relocating to Puyallup, I'm like, hey, Addy, can you get my financing in order? How are we going here? What am I looking at? Addy gives me a call. Phil, we got you pre-approved to $700,000 with X amount down. Good to go. Right. Then I'm going to find my real estate broker and say, hey, what would I want to look for? What would be the questions that me and my partner would be asking if I was relocating to Puyallup? And that's basically the sort of guidelines that we're going to give you about the pros and cons of the surrounding cities. What would I like to know, both good, both bad, when I'm moving to Puyallup, when I'm relocating across country, or obviously international coming back if you're a military member moving to JBLM. These are our thoughts and honest opinions. So you can, leave the comments at the end of the day, tell us what you want, but here's the reason. We want to get to know you.
Yep.
So we can dial in on what you need, what your wish list is, bells and whistles, get your finance in order. We'll find the house for you, and we'll take it from there.
I love that. You got to reach out. It starts with a simple reach out. Give us a call, give us a text, an email. We want to get you on the calendar so that we can get to know you and help you with your journey of relocating to the Pacific Northwest.
So one last thing just before I go. We as real estate brokers in the Northwest MLS, we can set you up on an auto email search. What that means is you get your finance in order. I speak with your loan officer. Then you give me your house criteria, what you're looking for. 4-bed, 2-bath, 2,200 square feet, lot size of 0.7. I can set you up on an auto email search. What that means is you'll get an initial email. Multiple emails can be used, both for you and your partner. you'll get an initial email from our portal. What that means is, say there's 25 homes that are available, okay? So that you'll get them emailed automatically for you. Now, may not be relocating for, say, 3 months or something, right? But if a home comes on the market, as long as you actively go into your portal, if a home comes on the market next week, next month, and in the 3 months, if it hits your criteria, it'll automatically be emailed across to you the moment the house gets listed. If you find that one on a Monday morning when you wake up and the wife goes, "This is the one, we want it," you got it right in your inbox. We can move the minute that the house gets listed, so you won't be missing out on anything moving forward. The Northwest MLS does a search for you. You don't have to troll through Zillow, Realtor.com, and all those other sites. So that's one of the huge factors about finding a good real estate broker that knows how the system works, that gets you set up.
There you go. I love it. And that was a really good episode. And if this is your first time to the channel, make sure you hit that little subscribe button and the little bell so you get notified every time we put out a new video, because we're cranking out a lot of content here. We got more to come. So definitely looking forward to hearing from you.
Guys, we appreciate you watching. We're here to earn your business. Thanks so much. As I say in Clandau, ciao for now.